Sometimes you just have to get radical. That's the philosophy of founder and CEO of Radical Superfoods Incorporated, Donny Makower. Donny Makower is a business leader and marketing veteran who realigned his personal and professional endeavors about plant-based, cruelty-free living. His expertise centers around building organizations, developing and executing brand strategies, digital marketing, and creating effective customer experiences. Donny is well known for his TEDx talk, The Blind Spot of Compassion, A Case for Vegan Living. It's an approachable discussion on animal ethics and the ongoing exploitation of animals. You're in for a great treat as you listen to Donny Makower, founder and CEO of Radical Superfoods. That's RDCL Superfoods. So stick around.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
Well, Donny, I have to say, you're a rock star to get on my show twice. Actually, you got on my other show, Plant-Based Eating for Health, and now you're on Vegan Visibility. And I just like you. I like what you're doing. I like what you stand for. I like that you're a radical vegan. And actually, you have Radical Superfoods. And want to start by you sharing what that is and how you got involved in the whole vegan movement.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. I'm definitely honored to be here for the second time with you. So this is great. Well, I could tell you first how I got into the vegan movement. It actually started back in 2012. I started gravitating towards a plant-based diet before I became vegan, right? It was more health related because of a health scare within my family and with my sister, and everything ended up working out well because she went on to a plant-based protocol and ended up halting her breast cancer, which at the time was progressing. And she didn't just adopt a plant-based diet. It was like no sugar, no junk, whole food, plant-based, very nutrient rich, starting with wheatgrass in the morning. And you can imagine how the rest of the day unfolds, right? And she followed this protocol and she had a really good health outcome. So while this is an anecdote, it's not a double-blind placebo-controlled study. It is my sister, it is within my own family. And so I saw kind of the magic of plant-based nutrition unfold right before my eyes, and it was very compelling. And like I say, at that point, it was more health related. But about 4 years ago, just amidst my never ending stream of research into what is the optimal human diet, I stumbled across a talk that was not about nutrition at all. It was about animal well-being and the ethical implications of animal agriculture. And I was really blown away by the cruelty that these animals, these poor animals are enduring. I just, for whatever reason, never put two and two together, as most people don't. We just sort of go on with our day-to-day lives. But once I saw that is where I drew a line in the sand and said, I'm done. And that's when I transitioned from being predominantly plant-based in diet to fully vegan in lifestyle. And then I learned about the environmental implications after that, which in and of themselves are enough of a reason to adopt a fully plant-based lifestyle, but certainly taken in combination, health, ethics, and environment, it's an overwhelming argument.
You know, your journey is similar to mine, other than not to do with the sister, but kind of a sideline question. Did she go to a facility? Did she do it on her own? What was the story there?
She went to a facility. She went to the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida.
Yeah, I've heard amazing things about that.
And she spent a couple of weeks there. I mean, you essentially live there almost like on a campus, and, you know, they're growing sprouts. I mean, they're eating living foods there. But, you know, she only did that for 2 weeks. And then basically you go home and you just follow the protocol that they outlined for you, which is primarily diet and maybe some other lifestyle changes. But as she was doing that, she just started feeling better and better. And sure enough, her outcome was really positive.
That's amazing. And how is she today?
Today, she's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she's married with 3 kids, doing well.
That is amazing. And, you know, I've heard such great stories by other people about the Hippocrates. Is that Hippocrates Center, and just amazing results. But your journey started plant-based, as did mine. I didn't want to be a vegan because I thought vegans were crazy. And about 6 months in, I actually crossed that invisible line, and I describe it as kind of a spiritual awakening where I felt the pain and suffering of the animals like I had never felt before. And we do animal rescue. We were talking about our dogs before we started, and I've got 2 rescue dogs that they're kind of crazy. They're spoiled, but I never connected the dots between eating animals and rescuing animals. It didn't exist. So in your business, because what I really want to tap into today also are some of your best practices in business, because on the Vegan Visibility Show, that's what we really focus on, is how does a vegan identified business, or a business that targets vegan customers, or it's a vegan product that they know that not all their customers are vegan, because in the plant-based meat market, most of the customers are not vegan. But tell us about your company, Radical Superfoods. How did you decide to start that particular company? And then let's talk about what you do to grow your market reach.
Yeah, so there's a lot there that we could look at. At the origins of the company were really just centered around how do we get people to eat more plants. I mentioned that my sister was having wheatgrass juice in the morning. I'm a huge advocate of wheatgrass juice, but you could tell most people to drink wheatgrass juice and they just don't want to because it doesn't taste good. To the vast majority of people, it tastes really bad. So we just said, well, how do you get people to eat more plants? You have to make products that are really easy to make, really tasty and delicious, sometimes even indulgent. And then you want to infuse them with many healthy plant-based superfood ingredients so that you can up the health quotient dramatically, and people get excited about incorporating them into their daily routine. So, philosophically, we often like really reimagining a category. So one example, I have Exhibit A here, which is Super Coco. It's one of our products. And we developed this by just saying, look, we love hot chocolate. Who doesn't love hot chocolate? Well, most hot chocolates on the market are not particularly good for you. They're loaded with sugar or artificial ingredients, other junk. And we set a pretty high standard for ourselves. We said, how do we create a version of hot chocolate that's not just less junky, but it's actually good for you, where you're better off having 2 servings than just 1? Can we do that? So you start with cacao, you make it sweet, but you don't add refined sugars. And then once we started adding superfood ingredients, we wanted to see what would that taste like. So we started adding organic kale, broccoli, and spinach, and other veggies, and 6 different ancient grains and seeds that are gluten-free, and 7 different superfruit like strawberry and elderberry and blueberry. And we even managed to get in there 6 grams of organic pea protein in each serving. And we tasted it and we loved it, but we then gave it to adults and friends, and they loved it too. But the real test came with kids. Kids are a tough critic. So we give these kids hot chocolate. Of course, at the start, we don't tell them what's in it. Sometimes parents never tell them what's in it. We leave it up to them. And they're drinking this up, all these superfood plant-based ingredients, and they don't even know it. It just tastes like indulgent hot chocolate. We apply that philosophy to other categories as well. So that's laying the groundwork for Radical.
So how many different categories do you have? And I know you have a new one that you're working on. What are some of the main categories?
Yeah, well, look, we're an early stage company. And although our products are live, you could go to our website, radicalsuperfoods.com. And we, by the way, we have a very modern take on the word radical. It seems to be a trend these days that people drop vowels from words, and we're no exception. So radical is spelled RDCL. So it's RDCL Superfoods. And, we have been testing products in the market because we had this idea and we didn't want to just do a big launch. So we only created 3 products. We started testing it online by selling it and getting consumer feedback, seeing which messages resonate with different audience groups, because we wanted to verify who are our different audience groups and why do they care? And what kind of engagement can we get with them? And what is the response once they come to the site? We've also been testing in real world brick and mortar locations, a handful of selected kind of tastemaker locations, restaurants and small stores and places where you can order our products either ready made for you or buy them in retail. And so we don't have a lot of categories yet, but we have a pipeline of categories. Right now, we have 2 live that have been testing. One is the Super Coco, and the other is what we think of as superfood functional hydration. And so we looked at the hydration category. We're really intrigued by it. We want people to get the most out of their water. So we use really interesting ingredients like coconut water and different high antioxidant superfruit. And we use functional ingredients for energy and focus, immunity, stress support. And those packages, I have them right here. They look like this. They're like packets of powder that you just take a little scoop, you add it to your water bottle. I have a big reusable water bottle here. I just shake it up with ice water and I just drink it throughout the day. So those are 2 categories that we've been testing up until now, with more coming.
So I'm curious, the one I'm really interested for me personally would be the hydration one, because I've run a few marathons. I always come in last. I mean, that's my claim to fame, is like, oh, here comes Kathleen. She's the last one. And as I'm going by the gatekeepers, I go, if I'm coming in, that means there's nobody behind me. So you can shut the gate. But quite seriously, I do a lot of, I'm pretty physical, and hydration is important to me. How do you partner with like marathons? Do you partner with athletic stores? What is your market strategy to get the product in the hands of the end user?
Yeah, well, so there's 2 different strategies that we've been implementing, again, primarily through testing, but one has been online, and then one has been, again, in sort of the real world, right? And online, we've been testing different channels. So we would test, influencer marketing and send our products to influencers and see what they think. And of course, if they like it, we want it to be authentic. And so, when people get really excited about the product, they want to post about it. We would test and see how our products did on Amazon. We would do Google AdWords and send people to our site with different keyword searches. We would do different kinds of posts on Facebook and Instagram. And so we ran a gamut of tests across various marketing channels digitally. And then again, in brick and mortar locations, if you look at one of our initiatives, it's been with a restaurant called Cafe Gratitude, which is here in the Los Angeles area. So they actually have 5 locations. We had met with their executive team and owners, and they're really just amazing people. And so we partnered with them, and our products are sold at all of their locations in retail, because they actually have curated items that are on the shelves there, kind of near the dessert counter and the register. But now we're working with them to test on the menu. And before you knew it, we were part of an add-on that you can put on meal plans. And so you take an initial step, you see how people react. Do people buy the products and enjoy them and make sure the feedback is positive? When they do, you can take another step forward and you kind of keep testing. And that's exactly what we've been doing, both in digital and physical.
So where do you see your products a year to 2 years down the road? What would you, in a perfect world, like to see?
Yeah, well, a year or 2 years down the road, first of all, we'll have a much wider assortment of products. We've got an interesting, still behind the curtain pipeline of products and categories to reimagine. And so we're really excited about the progress we're making there. We're actually very far down development on a few new products that we hope to, do a production run for as soon as possible. But if you're looking a year or 2 down the line, we won't just have an expanded product line. We'll actually be much more widely available. We'll be in far more physical locations. Right now, they're primarily centered in California, but we'll extend far outside of the state. And certainly our online presence, once we move from testing mode, like this soft launch phase that we've been in, into a full launch, we would expect to have much greater awareness and hit a much wider range of people. Because again, we're not targeting vegans. Yes, vegans are part of our target market. Of course, we'll be appealing to people who are vegan or living a plant-based lifestyle. But we didn't design our products specifically for vegans. We designed them to appeal to a really wide range of people.
That's a great point, because a lot of people that when they become vegan, they think, okay, I'm only going to deal with vegans. And that's not living in the real world at all, because it's, every little step we can take. And I want to remind people that you're listening to the Vegan Visibility Show. This is Kathleen Gage, and I'm talking with Donny Makower, and he is the founder and CEO of Radical Superfoods, and that's RDCL Superfoods. And how do they find you? Do they go to radicalsuperfoods.com?
Yeah, radicalsuperfoods.com, and with the same name, you could find us on Instagram. I would say that's the platform where we're most active. But those are 2 great ways to find us. Yeah, right on our site.
Wonderful. So for the people who are listening right now and they're thinking, I have an idea for a food, whatever it may be. It could be the next steak. It could be whatever. And they're thinking, okay, I'm just going to take it to market. What are the realities of taking a product like yours or any kind of a food product or a physical product to market? What are some of the obstacles that they're going to encounter?
Well, it depends on the obstacles change depending on where on the timeline you are. So if you and I were sitting here today and we said, hey, we've got an idea for a new food item, what our obstacles now, if we're in the ideation phase as well, first, you've got to formulate that item. You've got to source ingredients. You want to make sure that you're getting high quality ingredients, assuming if you and I were doing this, we would want a high quality product. So you've got to lock down your supply chain. Once you figure out your formulation, which takes some doing, this does not happen overnight. It can take quite some time. Then you've got to figure out manufacturing and packaging, and there are some legal steps that you need to take. And so there's a variety of steps from the time you have an initial concept and the time that you could even begin to launch. And then once you launch and you've got an initial production run, now you could start to sell it. But again, I would often advise people, I guess it depends on the circumstance, but I would say more often than not, it behooves you to test the market, sort of dip your toe into the deep end, see what happens, go after the group that you think are your primary targets, test the messaging, see what the response is to the products, and just kind of validate your initial thesis before you go too far and wide, because that could get really expensive too early in the process.
Okay, good insight right there. And I want to take a step back into the whole radical vegan movement. I know that you're pretty active on Clubhouse and you have a weekly room, if I'm not mistaken. When does that happen?
Yeah, I've been doing a room. Occasionally I have to miss just because work takes over, but I try to do it every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And the room is called Everything is Right About Plant-Based Living. And it's just a really safe space for people to come in, particularly those who do not live a plant-based or vegan lifestyle, right? They come in, maybe they're curious about it. They just want to listen. They want to hop on stage and ask a question. So I try to create a welcoming environment for people with all types of philosophies and lifestyles to step up, ask a question, engage in a conversation. Again, even if they totally disagree.
Right. Well, I've been in the room a few times, and I do recall a couple of conversations where people were kind of pushing back on, well, I need my meat, I need my protein, and it's like, okay, let's have a conversation. Yeah. And so, what are some of the most interesting stories that you can tell us about your Clubhouse room? What can one expect when they join you on Clubhouse?
Well, certainly, as I mentioned at the start of our conversation today, there's three primary benefits to living a vegan lifestyle. One is health benefits, one is environmental, but really the one that drives me the most, although they're all important, is the ethical argument, right? The animals are what really move me. Because I was so blown away by witnessing the suffering that they endure. And I had just never really thought about it. I had never connected those dots in my mind. The dogs and cats that share our homes are pets. And then there's animals we revere in the wild. That's wildlife like elephants or giraffes and dolphins. We certainly don't wish them any harm. And then we've got this group of animals that's livestock, poultry, and seafood. And we just condemn them to the worst life imaginable in an era when we no longer have to. Right. And because I'm so moved by that, in the Clubhouse room, I often really try to be the voice of the animals. They cannot speak up for themselves, and they need people like us to speak up on their behalf. You
do a great job too. And, something I had never considered, and see, if people could see you, if they're listening, they don't see that you shave your head. So
I do.
You do. And so you don't have to really worry about hair products, but I obviously use hair products, many hair products. I use cosmetics. And before I became a vegan, And even for about the first year of identifying as vegan, I never really considered my cosmetics and my hair products and my clothes. And I used to wear a lot of Western boots that were very high quality Western boots. I don't wear those anymore. But I actually, when I go to the store or before I'm going to go shopping, I will actually look online and make sure that it's cruelty-free, which means no animal testing, and vegan, because it can be no animal testing and not be vegan. So those are things that we learn as the veils are lifted. What is one thing that you would encourage people who are considering exploring more of a plant-based vegan lifestyle? What can they do so that it's not such a shock to their system? Because some people resist because it is a shock to the system. Other people do it, like your sister, it was life and death. And obviously she chose life. So with that in mind, give us one or two tips.
Yeah, well, one definitely comes to mind. And I actually gave a TED talk on this topic called The Blind Spot of Compassion, A Case for Vegan Living. And this one tip I actually even mentioned towards the end of that talk, which is the easiest thing that somebody could do to become vegan. Let's say somebody is not vegan now who's listening to our conversation. And I challenge that person to wake up tomorrow morning and from that point forward, you're vegan. For many people, that would feel jarring. They'd be like, oh my gosh, what would I do? Am I going to be eating salad all day? Mm-hmm. And the answer is no, fear not. And what I would tell you to do is to continue eating the exact same foods that you eat now. You're just going to buy the plant-based versions of all of them. So by way of example, when I talk to people and I go, just tell me what you had for breakfast today. Oh, well, I had Greek yogurt this morning. Great. You're going to have Greek yogurt tomorrow morning as well. You're just going to buy one of the 50 plant-based Greek yogurts that are in the same supermarket that you probably shop at. What'd you have for lunch? Oh, I had a chicken salad. I made it at home. Great. You're going to have a chicken salad tomorrow too. You're just going to buy a plant-based version of the chicken. It will absolutely taste the same. I've had friends of mine who are not vegan try both variations of so many different foods, animal-based product, what would normally be an animal-based product. And they're like, okay, I'll admit, I can't tell the difference. I wouldn't even know, and you could have anything. You could, if you want ice cream and pizza, you could have ice cream and pizza as a vegan. Now, I don't want to conflate those foods with what's healthy eating, right? There's two different conversations here. You want to be as close to a whole food plant-based diet as possible for health reasons. But when we're talking about ease of transitioning into a vegan lifestyle, just start experimenting with the plant-based versions of the foods you already love. It's that simple.
I love that. And I actually just recently had a conversation with the founder of Rebellious Foods, and they make chicken nuggets. And she said one of her goals is, and her whole team is to get that in as many schools as possible, because children right now eat a lot of chicken nuggets. And she goes, you can't change their diet completely. You have to meet them where they're at. So I love that. And what do you see for the future of the whole plant-based vegan movement? Because we get kind of immersed in it. And I think we get jaded at times thinking, oh, all these people are vegan and plant-based. But when you step back and you see what's really going on in the world, it's only a small percentage, but the awareness is definitely raising every day. Where do you see things going?
Well, I see things continuing to grow rapidly. I mean, the plant-based movement is not slowing down. It's increasing week over week. And this is not really a mystery. All you have to do is walk through a supermarket and open your eyes and look around. Now, you already know this, but I'm talking to any random consumer. One thing that I often tell people is that when I was growing up, there were 4 types of milk in the refrigerator section at the supermarket. There was skim, 2% whole, and chocolate, and they all originated with a cow. Now, today, how many types of plant-based milks are there? You and I couldn't even count. And even once you go to a certain type, like let's say you said almond milk or hemp milk or soy milk, or take your pick, there's also multiple brands that make each version of that milk. And so we're talking about mass numbers of options with more on the way. This is a reflection of what's happening in the market. We live in a supply and demand system. As more people buy those products, we are fueling the demand for those products, and those products continue to come and, give us more and more. And these companies give us more and more options over time. So people are voting with their dollars, and we are seeing a difference. And it's really notable. And by the way, look at all the fast food restaurants that are incorporating plant-based options, right? Which I also like seeing. Again, I'm not suggesting people should live off of food in a fast food restaurant, but that when these big chain restaurants that are contributing to enormous amounts of animal suffering are actually starting to serve up plant-based options, it's because there's a demand for it. They're not doing it for ethical reasons. They're doing it because they think we're going to get people to start buying these products. And that, again, is a sign of the times. So I'm
absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's not black and white. And there are some people who want it to be black and white. And I know I went through that period myself where, I just want everybody to be vegan and give up all the animal products, but they don't. One of the things I love is when I have company and I do most of the cooking and everything obviously is plant-based vegan, and people are shocked. I've given cookbooks away.
Oh, yeah.
I've given, a good friend of mine, Felicia Slattery, wrote a book on slow cook cookbook. It's like 100 recipes, one of my favorite. And I have extra copies so that I can give it to people when they're wowed with the food and they go, this isn't what I thought it would be. So
right.
One thing that people that are thinking of starting a vegan business or they're transitioning their business, like I did mine, 28 years in business. And it was at about the 27-year mark, I decided, I really want to focus more on that particular market with my marketing strategies and my visibility and all that. What are some publications or one or two publications you can recommend that people in vegan businesses read, and what associations would be good for them to be involved with?
It's interesting because a lot of the publications that I read, when I look for things that are more business specific, I tend to just hop online and I search for specific topics, which means I'm not actually tracking a single source for business information.
Right.
I'm pulling from the search engine. But what I do find is if you take a publication like Plant-Based News, there's so often, you get the heartbeat of what's happening across the plant-based world that it's really just a good way to keep your finger on the pulse. So that is one example. I'm more kind of keeping tabs on the plant-based world. And then again, for business specific things, I drill down across a wide variety of sources.
Wonderful. And what about associations? Are there any associations that you as a food manufacturer belong to?
You know what? Not really. Especially in these early phases during our testing, we've been kind of noses down, and there's been so many moving parts that we haven't gotten actively involved in different associations. But I would imagine that is a much bigger part of our future as we build and grow the company and just become more active.
Right. Well, I asked for selfish reasons because I'm a keynote speaker and I really want to speak at association meetings that target the.
I know. I'm right there with you.
So I was being selfish there. So if you get any insight on that, let me know.
Yeah,
but,
we may
Donny,
about that.
First of all, thank you so much for all that you're doing. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Of course.
I'm so excited to talk with you again. And is there anything that I should have asked or I could have asked that I haven't asked you in closing?
You know what? You did such a good job. This was very thorough. I can't believe how much ground we covered in this period of time. So nothing is specifically coming to mind, but maybe before long, Kathleen, we have a round 3 of this. So I always enjoy it, and I love your approach to the plant-based world. So thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, Donny. And I want to remind people you have been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. I'm your host, Kathleen Gage, and I've been talking with Donny Makower, who is with Radical Superfoods, and that's RDCL Superfoods. And you can find them online. We'll make sure to put the link in the show notes, so look for that. So, Donny, I know that you're always encouraging people to just test out the products, and you have a special offer for my community. What is that offer?
Yeah, so you can use a discount code or promotion code, which is Get Radical. It's just GETRDCL. There will be a place that you can enter that during checkout, and it'll take 20% off the entire order. So If you want to try some of our products, we'd love for you to do it. Love your feedback. And maybe this is just a little added incentive to give it a shot. Okay, so it's Get Radical at checkout, and we'll make sure to put that in the show notes too. Donny, thank you so much. Thank you. And be sure to leave a review and a rating of the show, and go out, live the most conscious, compassionate, aligned life that you can. Have a great day, a great evening, a great middle of the night, whenever you're watching or listening.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.